Spiritual awakening or psychoses. This is something that I hear a lot in the forums and the groups that I'm in, especially when schizophrenia, psychoses, and spirituality are kind of being intermingled. And the problem is that psychoses and schizophrenia, these conditions are something which kind of involves absolutely everything. You'll never meet someone with the same exact delusion. They can have similarities and trends and structures that are very similar, but everything will be intermingled. You might get someone with a psychosis that's very scientific in its origin and nature and technologically complex, or you might get someone that's very earthy and spiritual and there's lots of magic involved and religion and stuff like that. Now, there is definitely, I believe, such a thing as a spiritual awakening, and a spiritual awakening is realizing that you are a spirit, in the sense you have a spirit and you have a soul, and how that reacts and responds and integrates with the world is what I consider to be an awakening. Now, the thing is that people with psychoses, I believe, are more in tune with their relationship with the world in a more spiritual way. That's a really hard thing to say, because ultimately, especially when you're going through psychosis, you aren't necessarily grounding yourself in material reality. You're attempting to go into the ether, similar to how an artist goes beyond the realm of language to try and express something which is inexpressible. That's the point of artwork, and that's the point of why art is followed by poetry, and then poetry is followed by the philosophers, because at the forefront of our expansion as a species, you've got the artists. Now, spirituality, in essence, is something not based in material. That's what it means, or relating to the spirit. And when you're going through psychosis, it's very easy to go off into the spirit, to be absent of material. And you are, of course, conscious of those experiences. You remember them, even once you're lucid. Even if you were completely consumed by a psychotic episode, you remember that experience most of the time, if not all the time. And so think of it like when you're dreaming. When you're dreaming, you are definitely not in reality. You might be flying through the clouds or using telekinesis to pick and throw things up all over the place. It's definitely not based in reality, but there is substance to what you're going through, what you're experiencing. There's symbols, there's meanings to things, right? And so psychosis, when it mixes with spirituality, it can be a rewarding experience, but it's a very delicate situation that you're in, because you're ill, you're not gauging reality properly, and you're responding to reality with hallucinations and triggers and delusional thinking. So when you're in psychosis, I don't think that it's a spiritual thing that's happening to you per se, but what I think is that it can be a spiritual experience, because much like how you're dreaming, you will see symbols and manifestations of your subconscious. When you're having a psychotic episode, it's the same thing. You are experiencing a subconscious manifestation of hallucinations and dreamlike experiences that there is meaning in. I do not believe that when it comes to the human mind, that there is no meaning in anything. There is meaning in everything. No suffering is without its cause. No hallucination is without its root. There is a meaning to all of this. And to be spiritual when in psychosis is to allow that to be something that you understand, that you are not basing your experience in material, but you can try to bring that back to material. And that's what I believe a spiritual warrior is. It's someone who follows their feelings and uses the experiences that they have to relate that to themselves so that they can then in the future articulate it. It's exactly what an artist does, except it's being thrusted upon you when you're psychotic. Now, I don't want to give the wrong idea and say that psychosis is a spiritual thing and it happens for some grand spiritual purpose. I believe that psychosis happens because there's damage to you, whether it be physiological damage in the brain, atrophied brain regions, or stress or trauma. It's not happening for a good reason, and it should never be seen as a spiritual experience, but an experience that you can take something away from spiritually. And I think that when you see it in that way, it allows you to develop. We're living in a very, very, very confused world, and there is no simple book of dreams or book to understand the universe. It's a free-for-all of ideas at the moment, and in human history we will be known as the free-for-all of ideas, because there isn't one yet that's taken center stage, and there isn't an understanding of the world yet that's taken center stage. And for that reason, it's all of the responsibility of all the brave souls out there to try to understand their experience through spirituality, through science, through philosophy, art, or poetry, so that we can get an understanding of what is happening in the world, so that we can articulate it to others and build together. That's what I believe. I personally am someone who's very spiritual, but I'm also very scientific. And when there is something scientific that's based on a fundamental statistic or an empirical observation, I will listen to that. But when I have an experience like psychosis and I see images and I see things, I will still remain as much of a scientist as I can, but I will open my mind to the spiritual, and I will allow myself to try to scrutinize and pick out the meanings of the things that I'm seeing. And so, do I believe that there is a spiritual psychosis? Yes, I do. But I believe that you make it a spiritual psychosis by learning about what you are seeing, why it's important to you, getting a good psychotherapist, and decoding those meanings together. I hope that's a cool video. Have a great day.